Hello there, my name is Zayla, and this is a scuffed tutorial for my VRC 3.0 toggle generator tool. I'm going to assume you have some familiarity with using Unity to upload and modify VRChat avatars, that you have the VRC 3.0 avatar SDK set up, and in particular that you know how to make simple animations in Unity that do things like set blend shape values, or enable and disable objects in your avatar's hierarchy. If you don't know how to do that, ask your friend who does know. The Avatar 3.0 menu system is great. You can do all kinds of neat things with it, most of which are too big brain for me, so I just use it to toggle different outfits and props from my avatar on and off. But there's a couple problems with that. The first problem is that the Avatar 3.0 system will only allow you to have one menu toggle active at a time that does anything other than skeletal animation. You can have only one toggle active at a time that enables or disables objects in your avatar's hierarchy, that sets blend shape values, or that does anything fancier than that. In a perfect world, you'd have one toggle for every individual thing on your avatar you want to turn on or off, but instead, you need to have one toggle for every combination of things you want to have on or off at the same time. Second problem is that working with Avatar 3.0 stuff in Unity by hand is painful. Making menus and state machine diagrams and manually coordinating parameter values between them is tedious and error prone, which means it doesn't scale to making large numbers of them by hand. I know after I'd made just a few myself, I felt that there had to be a better way. And that's where this tool comes in. Okay, let's get started here. First things first, let's go ahead and download the latest release off of GitHub. The link is in the description. Right now there's just version 1, so we'll grab that. We'll just download the official release zip file here. Okay, so we got that. The tool is not integrated with Unity in any way, so we'll mostly be interacting with it through the standard Windows File Explorer. I'm just gonna copy it over here. Okay, so here I have the asset folder for this project. You see right here, open in Windows File Explorer, there's a zip file I just copied over, same thing. This is how you'll be interacting with the tool. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and extract this here. The name of the folder it ends up in doesn't really matter. I don't need this stuff anymore. Stupid meta files Unity's always creating all the time. Anyway. Okay, so now we should go over the workflow for the tool. There are basically 3 parts to working with the tool. I have them written down in a very official looking notepad file because it's that important. First is generating templates from Unity anim files. Second, creating text files that define what toggles you have, what they do, and how they'll be laid out in your menu in VRC. Lastly, you run the tool to make all the magic stuff happen. So, generating templates from Unity anim files. Here, I have some simple animations I made ahead of time. Let's see, this one just turns the avatar's hat off. Like so. I have another one that turns off the bracelet little thing there. Simple stuff just for example. And then I have a couple more that set blend shapes to make facial expressions on the avatar's head mesh. I'm going to go ahead and copy these over to make things simple into the big intimidating looking stuff over here in the tools main folder. So what I'm going to do now is to drag these animation files, the .anim files, one by one, or multiple at a time, onto this make template from anim batch file that came with the tool. The names of the animation files matter because you'll be using the same names later to refer to them, so make them clear and memorable. That's why I have them very simple names like hat off, which is the animation that turns the hat off. Bracelet off is the one that turns the bracelet off, and these emote ones to make me remember that they're facial emotes. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and drag the hat off one onto the make template from an im batch file. And because we downloaded this from the internet, and it's not like official signed by Microsoft stuff, I'm just one guy developing stuff in his apartment, nothing super fancy, it's not on Steam or anything like that. So we got to go through the whole, yeah, I really want to run this stuff. You'll have to do that for 3 different things in this tool. You go run anyway, and it happens. It's a whole bunch of stuff out here it's talking about. It's not really important. I'm going to go over it myself. But the one thing you might want to note is it says created animation template /states/shut-off. And I'll go ahead and generate all the rest all at once here. Take all these 3 in files, drag them onto make template from an im.bat. And there we go, it made all 3. Now let's take a look at the tools template folder. Well, we don't actually need these animations anymore, so I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of them and their meta files. Make things a little less cluttered here. Okay, so let's look at this template folder. This is where all of the magic happens, really. So if you look in the states subfolder, you will see all the templates we just created. One for the hat off, one for the bracelet off, and one each for the 2 facial expression ones. You'll never have to touch these files by hand. Possible to do if you know what you're doing. But just if you ever forget what you have, just have a look in this template states folder. And give yourself a little refresher. Okay, so that was the first part of working with the tool. The second part is to make text files representing the toggles you want. That happens here under the combos folder. Nothing in here right now. We're going to start making stuff ourselves. Format of these files is very simple. First, create a new text file. Like so, and name it whatever you want your toggle to be called in your menu in VRC. I'm just going to call my first one hat off. Nice capital letters and spacing and everything. Okay, so inside the file, you want to list the names of the templates you just created that you want to be part of this toggle. 1 per line. For the first one, we're just going to use hat off. You remember? In states here, I have this one, hat off. We want to use the same name to refer to it. So I got hat off, and we'll just leave it at that. And I want another one for the bracelet off. Make that here. Bracelet off. Bracelet off. And now to get really fancy, I'll make one that combines both the bracelet and hat off, and we'll call it both off. And I'll have both hat off and bracelet off. And the tool will automatically combine the 2 effects into 1 toggle. Anything super fancy, but it does save a little time and effort. Also, the layout of this folder, the combos folder here, is translated into the layout of your expressions menu in VRChat. What this means is that we can add our own folders here. Call this, I don't know, combined. It can be whatever you want it to look like, whatever you want it to be named in VRC. And I'll move both off under there. So now, when we run the tool, it will see that we have a folder here, and it will automatically create a submenu called combined and have the toggle under that submenu. And the tool will automatically lay things out the same way you do with your files here. But note that VRC will only let you have 8 toggles or submenus within any particular menu. So you'll need to make sure you don't cram too many files or folders in one place. It won't work. So if we had more than 8 files and folders here, the tool would complain, VRChat would complain, just wouldn't go. Gotta make things organized a little bit. One little file is just part of the distribution of the tool. It doesn't actually get counted. You don't have to worry about it. Anyway, at this point, we call this a job well done and just go ahead and move to step 3 and run the tool. Tool would look at the contents of the combos folder here, and it would create 3 toggles for us, one of which would be inside a submenu called combined. But I also have those two facial expression templates I created, and I'd like to be able to do all the same facial expressions, regardless of whether I have the hat off, or the bracelet off, or both off. I could manually create text files for every combination of outfit setting, and facial expression. That seems like a lot of repetitive work. Instead, let's go back here and look at the emotes folder. Here we can make more files with exact same format as the ones in the combos folder. For example, let's call this, I don't know, heart eyes. And I believe I have one called emote heart eyes. Is that right? Yes, I do. I also have emote spooked eyes. Oh. Let's do that. Call this spooked eyes. And also want to make sure I have an expression which is just my default expression. And I'll show you how to do that too. In this case, I'll just call mine default, and we'll just have it be an empty text file. Say, I want to make sure that there's a menu selection toggle that just does nothing except what it's combined with. You'll see what I mean in a moment here. So, when the tool sees that there are files in the emotes folder, right here, it behaves differently. When it looks at the contents of the combos folder, instead of creating a toggle called hat off, it'll create a submenu called hat off, and it will create a toggle for each file it sees under emotes, combining the effect of the combos under it. So we'll have a hat off submenu with 3 entries in it: default, heart eyes, and spooked eyes, all of which will be toggles. And when you go into any of those toggles, you'll have the effect of the emote toggle plus the effect of the hat off combo. So basically it inherits the hat off part and then layers facial expressions on top of it. Same for bracelet off here. It'll be a submenu and it'll have entries, default, heart eyes, and spooked eyes, all of which will be toggles. Same for both off as well. The basic idea is that the combo files here define an outfit, and the emote files define facial expressions you want to be able to use with every different outfit you got. Okay, now that we're done setting up our toggles, it's time to run the tool. Go back to the base folder of the tool here. Running the tool is done in 2 separate steps, and there's a reason for that, as we'll see. First things first, though, we'll go ahead and double-click run step1.bat. And of course, we'll have to do this thing again. Yes, we actually want to run it anyway. And it'll, in our case, very quickly, and if you have a lot of different toggles set up, it might take a few seconds, create a whole bunch of stuff for us. And it tells us, this is very important, focus your Unity project and wait a few seconds for it to finish importing small assets before running step 2. And we're going to do that. That means every time after you run step 1, you must tab over to Unity and wait for that little thing that just plopped up in like for a half second there. What I was doing was making meta files for all of the stuff we just made in step 1. And we need those meta files, all that metadata, to exist before we can finish things up in step 2. It's very important that you remember to tab into Unity. In fact, the tool will yell at you if you fail to do that. It'll notice that things haven't happened and it'll say, stuff's missing. Make sure you go into Unity. Anyway, now we can run step 2. And again, for the first time, we'll have to make sure we say run anyway. And that's it. We're done. Now, if you look in the generated folder, you'll see there's a bunch of stuff. But the main things we're interested in is that the tool created this fxlayer.controller, menu.asset, and parameters.asset for us. Now we can go back into Unity. It'll take a very quick moment to import more stuff that we just created, more metadata. Now we can go over to our VRC avatar descriptor, go down to playable layers, hit customize, go down to FX, click on non-default transform, and then we'll go over here. Oh, we could pick FX layer. Actually, not sure if that's the right one. So just to be extra sure, I'll go into my tool here in Unity, go down to generated. There's the FX layer controller. And I will just drag it over here. And also go down to expressions, click customize, and do the same for menu and parameters. Menu, menu, parameters, parameters. And that's it. Now we can upload our avatar and it'll all work in VRC. I'll go ahead and do that and show you the results. Okay, here we are in VRChat desktop mode. I uploaded this avatar without making any further modifications past what you saw in the video before. And I'm going to open up the radial menu thing by pressing R, and you can do that if you didn't know. And here we go. Under expressions, I've got bracelet off, I've got hat off, and I've got combined. It's alphabetical here. If you go to bracelet off, we can see under that we have 3 different things we can choose from based on what we had in the emotes folder. We have default, just see little bracelet disappeared there, heart eyes, spooked eyes. We go under hat off, we got default, no hats, heart eyes, spooked eyes. And under combined, we got just both off as something to choose from here. And then we got default, heart eyes, spooked eyes. It's as simple as that. One final little note here. So far we've been using the tool just to make toggles, menu-based toggles, including for expressions. Can't use gestures with them at the same time, but the tool does allow you to make gestures in the same kind of way. I'll just say that really the gesture system for Avatar 3.0 does not mix well with the menu-based toggles, because again, you can only have one toggle active at a time that does things like set blend shapes or enable or disable objects in your avatar's hierarchy, and that also applies to gestures. So basically, if you use Avatar 3.0 to set up a gesture that does something like set a blend shape to show different stuff on your face, it will override anything you select from the menu. So it's basically, if you want gestures, use gestures. If you want toggles through the menu, use them. But it's probably not worth it to use both because they just clash with each other. But anyway, if you do want to use this tool just to save some time to make gestures, I'll show you how to do that. Under Template, Gestures, we have all these folders already made for us. Finger gun, finger point, fist, open hand, peace sign, rock and roll, thumbs up. Hopefully that's straightforward enough. Go into one you want to make a gesture toggle for, and then basically it's the same as the files you would make under combos or emotes. The only one thing you have to make sure, because the Avatar 3.0 stuff allows you to make different gestures for left hand, right hand, and basically it requires you to do that. You got to do the same thing here. You got to make sure whatever you name this file, the name doesn't appear anywhere that's visible to you since it is just a gesture and not something you select out of a menu. But you got to make sure that you name the file left or right, depending on whether you want it to be a right hand gesture or a left hand gesture. In this case, we're making a finger gun gesture because we're in the finger gun folder. And we want to make it say right hand finger gun. The name doesn't matter, it just has to have either right or left somewhere in it. And then once we're in there, it's the same kind of thing. We want to make our hat turn off for whatever reason when we do a right hand finger gun, and also have heart eyes. We can do that. And again, we're basically done. We just, at this point, we'd have to run the tool. Step 1, tab into Unity, step 2. And after that, we would have this gesture on our right hand finger gun. It would take our head off and give us heart eyes. But again, doing that gesture would completely cancel out anything we selected from the menu as far as toggles go. So basically, do one or the other. That would be my advice. Anyway, I hope you liked this tutorial. As scuffed as it has been, as many mistakes as I have made, tripping over my words and whatnot, my grating voice and all that. But I do hope you get some good use out of the tool if you're into that kind of thing. Enjoy. Bye-bye.